What's up everyone, Darcblade here with another episode in our Guide in Destiny series, where we bring you tips and tricks to Destiny 2. The next few episodes in our Guide in Destiny series will be focusing on the various subclasses within Destiny 2, and in this first episode we're going to give you an overview of the Dawnblade Warlock. In Destiny 2, the Dawnblade Warlock replaces the Sunsinger Warlock found in Destiny 1, but it maintains similarities. For example, it's a solar-based class dealing fire damage to enemies, meaning that all of their abilities, grenade, super, melee attacks will deal more damage to enemies who have red or orange shields. Firstly though, let's take a look at their three grenade abilities. First one is Solar Grenade. Once you throw the grenade, when it hits the surface, it will create a flare of solar light that will continuously damage enemies within its radius. Basically, it forms a fiery sphere whenever it hits the surface. This can include enemies as well. The great thing about this is it deals a lot of damage so long as enemies stay within its radius. However, this is also its greatest downside. Enemies can easily move out of its radius, and in PvP, this is easily done. That being said though, in PvP it can come in useful for blocking off objectives or choke points. The next grenade is the Firebolt Grenade. Once the grenade is thrown and hits the surface, it will create a fiery ring, after which bolts of solar light will flash out from the center, hitting anyone within range. This is quite nice for AoE burst damage, and it helps that you don't have to be that accurate with this grenade for it to deal damage. And then finally their third grenade is the Fusion Grenade. This works pretty much the same as it did in Destiny 1. Once you've thrown the grenade, it will stick to a surface or target and deal damage to them. The damage is quite high, probably the highest individually out of all these grenades, but the radius is not massive and you need to be accurate with the grenade to attach it to a target. Whilst there is a small tiny homing mechanic, it still means that you have to be accurate. With the Fusion Grenade, try to stick it to targets as it will do its most damage when it's actually attached to a target. Anyway, moving away from the grenades and looking at the class abilities, there are two variations of Rift. The first is Healing Rift, meaning that anyone who steps into the circle created by the Warlock's Rift will be continuously healed until the circle fades. This comes in incredibly useful in almost every single mode that Destiny 2 has to offer. The alternative version to Healing Rift is Empowering Rift. This changes the circle to deal extra weapon damage instead of healing those inside it. This comes in useful for set boss fights when you need to focus down enemies fast. Now moving away from the class abilities and onto the jump abilities. First one is Strafe Glide. This is the Warlock's standard glide ability, meaning that once you press jump while airborne, you will glide. Whilst this has strong directional control, it doesn't allow you to really climb to greater heights. The next jump is Burst Glide. Whilst this is pretty much the same as the Strafe Glide, it instead allows you to boost higher thanks to a small booster speed when you activate it. And then finally there is Balance Glide, which is a combination of the two previous glides. So you have fairly strong directional movement and you get a little bit of extra speed, allowing you to reach higher heights. As for the super available to the Dawnblade Warlock is Daybreak. Once activated, the Warlock will sprout fiery wings from their back and unleash a fiery sword. From this sword they can rain down fire upon their foes. Even though this is a sword and thus you would think a melee weapon, the attacks are actually not melee attacks. They are ranged, so can hit targets at quite a distance, although the fire strikes from the Dawnblade are actually arcing, meaning that if you want to aim at targets who are quite a distance away, you have to aim higher than where you intend the strike to land. On top of that, while Dawnblade is active, you can stay pretty much airborne, just hold the jump button down. The Dawnblade won't last forever though, so make sure you make those swings with the sword count. Now moving on to the two achievements available to the Dawnblade. First one is Attunement of the Sky. The Attunement of the Sky contains 3 passives and 1 melee ability. Their melee ability is Swift Strike. Basically this allows you to strike an enemy with your melee ability to burn that target. This will temporarily increase your movement speed and reload speed, handy in an emergency. As for the passives, you get Winged Sun, which means that you can engage enemies mid-flight. This allows you to fire your weapons and throw your grenades whilst you're gliding. This can sometimes give you advantage, especially when an enemy is not expecting you to attack from the skies. Next is Heat Rises, which allows airborne kills to recharge your grenades and melee energy. On top of that, it comes with a second bonus, which results in when you cast Daybreak, your super, it will instantly refill your grenade and melee energy, bringing them off cooldown instantly. This is a nice all-round buff, with multiple bonuses. Just remember though that this requires you to fight airborne most of the time to be at its best. Also, before you cast your super, make sure you use your melee and grenade ability up, so you get the most damage output possible thanks to the melee and grenade energy being restored when you cast the super. And then finally you have Icarus Dash, which although is passive, could be classed as its own ability as well. This allows you to dodge mid-air. if you double tap crouch while airborne, it will cause the Dawnblade Warlock to dodge mid-air, very similar to the Hunter's standard dodge. This can come in handy sometimes, but it unfortunately comes with a long cooldown. A side tip is that when using Icarus Dash while your super is active, there is no cooldown, so you can dash multiple times while you're in the air. And then finally, the next attunement is the attunement of Flame. Again, this has a melee ability and 3 passives. The melee ability, Igniting Touch, allows you to strike an enemy, burning them and causing them to explode when they are killed. This can cause some nice AoE damage and is useful on weaker opponents. Next is Fated for the Flame. This allows your Daybreak Super's projectiles to seek their targets as they travel, and upon impact, it will launch a streak of deadly flames. This really helps the quality of life of your super, meaning that you don't have to always be accurate with it, and it makes it much more potent. Next is Everlasting Fire, which again aids your super Daybreak. Basically, if you are able to kill an opponent while Daybreak is active, it will increase its duration. And then finally is Phoenix Dive, which again, similar to Icarus Dash, could be considered an actual secondary ability. Basically, when you're airborne, if you double tap crouch, you will instantly descend from the air very quickly to the ground. This will restore your health. However, if you do this whilst your super is active, you will instead slam into the ground, causing an explosion around you. This again adds more utility to your super, but the fact that it can heal you comes in very handy, especially if your rift is on cooldown. A side tip for Phoenix Dive is that when using it, you will receive no fall damage, so using it from high heights can allow you to descend quickly and safely. Now overall, the Dawnblade is quite a useful class. It's sort of a mid-range sustained damage class when compared to the other subclasses the Warlock has available to them. Out of the abilities and attunements, I personally prefer to take Firebolt Grenade over the other two, although I do like Solar Grenades in certain circumstances. As for the Rift, again I tend to favour the Healing Rift, although Empowering Rift does have its uses on certain bosses. As for jumps, I take the Balance Glide, and as for the two attunements, Attunement of Flame I find is much more useful in PvE, whilst Attunement of Sky is better in PvP. Now at the end of the day, these are all down to personal preference, and you can play multiple ways and how best fits your playstyle. But anyway, I hope you found this video interesting, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you another episode in our Guide in Destiny series to Destiny 2. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.